Hey, Levi.
Hey V.
Good. Your tie's a little. Your bow tie's a little loud. I like it.
What?
I like it.
Come
Hey,
on.
all right. So we're talking portraits,
Yeah.
and you, the image that Rich was talking about. You did a Steve Jobs portrait of a lot of people. You see them everywhere.
Yeah.
What inspired you? What inspires you to take portraits?
Oh, I like people. I like I like talking just randomly. You guys have both seen me walk up to complete
Yep.
strangers and engage in a conversation of all kinds. And I like helping people have a good photograph. Most people don't like the way they look in pictures, and I think I can help change that opinion about themselves. And especially with Steve Jobs portraits, that's a really fun project. And being a project makes it much easier for people to be in the photograph as well, because then they don't feel like I don't know. I think people don't feel like they're on their own. I
Yep.
think they feel like they're part of something, and it's a lot of fun. We've done about 2,000 of those portraits.
It was amazing, amazing. Hey, so you and I taught a class together a while back on portraits, but we did environmental portraits.
Right.
And what was neat was you did a twist on it. So I'm thinking environmental portraits, outdoors, we're doing these cool things. What are some of your environmental portraits that you like to do?
Oh, I like to photograph people in their own environment, whether it's outdoors or indoors, or in a classroom or at work, sitting at their desk. And I like to make an engaging portrait of them doing those things. Do you want to see some of those?
Yes, we would love to see them.
My name is Levi Sim, and right now I'd like to show you how I use Luminar 4 to make me a faster and a more profitable and also just like a happier photographer. And let's start with this portrait. I made this just the other day for my client, and we were doing a family photography session. Of course, when clients see this kind of photo, all they can really focus on are the pimples and the acne in there. And that's unfortunate because it distracts from the beautiful expression and the innate beauty of this gal. And so let's go into the portrait tools and turn on the skin enhancer, and it just immediately retouches the skin. Look at that. And then I'll turn on the skin defects removal, and it'll remove some of the more contrasty bumps. And so we went from here to here without any brushing or any masking or anything. And I can copy and paste these settings to other photographs, and now they're ready to proof. I've still got work to do manually with the clone stamp tool to come in and touch up spots, but I'm not going to do that until my client selects their favorite pictures, their favorite expressions, because I don't need to spend time manually retouching photos that aren't going to be used, that my client doesn't even want. Now it also it touched up the corner of her ear a little bit, so let's edit the mask and just remove that spot using the brush setting that comes in every tool. I love that. Okay, that's looking good. Now let's turn on the portrait enhancer tools. Face light is amazing, and it's going to bring the exposure up just on her face. And that's exactly what this picture needs, so that her face is brighter than the background and is the first thing that we look at when we see this photo. Now, let's turn on the eye enhancer and get a little more sharpness, a little saturation, a little more punch in her eyes. Just like that. And now, in Nothing Flat, we've gone from a picture that's a little too dark with too many pimples to a picture that's ready to share. And that makes me more profitable because I can copy the settings, like say this was the other photograph, I can copy those settings and sync adjustments across multiple photographs. And because it's using the artificial intelligence tools, even though her face moves to a different spot, even though it's a full length picture, or even though there's other people in the picture with her, it's still going to touch up all of their pimples and brighten their faces and their eyeballs. It's just so great. Now, it also makes me a happier photographer because it lets me be really creative. And here's a photo that I really like. But like when I made this picture, I could see the mood of it, and I could see in my mind what I think I wanted it to become. And but right now it's a little dark and it's just a little off. So let's adjust it first and get things looking right. And then we'll get creative with it. I'm going to make it into a black and white portrait by the time we're done with this. And we're going to do it quick too. Let's go up to the light tools and we'll adjust the white balance. I shot it in the daylight, so let's go with daylight. That's not bad. Let's turn on AI Enhance and bring that right up. And you can see that it's brightening the whole picture, giving a little more saturation in areas, and it's analyzing the picture for what it is, not for a preset settings. And I kind of like it right about there. And I can see before and after by hitting that toggle switch in any of the tools. And I like where that's going pretty well. Now, my very favorite tool in all of Luminar is the sun rays filter. And this is what it does. It puts sun rays on your picture. And of course that's over the top, but by cranking it up, I can start adjusting things. And I want these sun rays to come from right up here where the sun actually was in my photograph. I'm going to pull the length back a bit. There we go. Let's turn the number of rays down so it's kind of a glow instead of stripes coming across my picture. And of course we'll pull the amount back. Let's set it right down around here. I just want this gentle glow coming from the corner up there. That's really good. And then I can adjust those rays again. Let's about like that. Now let's turn up the radius of the sun and the glow amount just to make sure that it's giving me a solid glow up here instead of individual rays. And then we'll turn up the warmth of the glow, the rays coming down in there. Give it a little bit of that warm sunshine look from the morning sun. Okay, I like that very much. And here's before and after. So you don't have to use the sun rays to put rays across your photograph, and you don't even have to have it in the photograph. I've got the center of the sun way outside my picture right now. So I like this. I think that the very corner is a little too bright. So let's use the brush, which is in every tool in Luminar, and I love that. And I'm going to make it an eraser, a very soft, very large eraser. And I'm going to reduce how bright it is up there in the corner with a couple of strokes. Okay, that's too much. Let's pull that down a little more for the opacity so that it erases very gently across the picture. Kind of like that. And then we can use the mask to see what's left of it. I like that. Okay, and now here's my before and after with the sun rays. And I love that glow. I love the mood that it's giving to my picture. Kind of an angelic sort of a light coming down on this hunter as she stands there in the morning light. Now let's grab a new layer and we'll use this for the black and white settings. And I like to do it on a separate layer so that I've got options. I could export this as is right now and share a color photo, or I can do the black and white settings and share a color photo as well, all from the same picture, just by using different layers. And so I'm going to crank up the reds and the yellows, and I'm doing this to increase the contrast between colors in the picture, kind of like this. There we go. And so I've brightened the tones that were red, and I've darkened the tones that were blue, and I like the way that's looking. Now let's turn on the actually, let's go, before we turn on the vignette, and let's go to the advanced contrast tools, and let's add some mid-tone contrast. But as we do this, we can also adjust the balance and see how it brightens the mid-tones and gives us a little more contrast in here. Let's turn up the shadows as well, just a bit, and then we'll pull that down also, and you can see the difference with that mid-tone contrast. I like that. Now let's go back up and grab the vignette tool. And vignettes are wonderful because it allows us to focus our viewers' attention on the important things in the picture. And I turn it all the way on. I'm not going to leave it this dark, but it allows me to see exactly where my vignette falls. And I kind of want it to be in about that shape. And by choosing my subject area, I can adjust where the vignette is sitting. And then we'll pull it back, something kind of like that. And then the best thing about the vignette tool is this inner light slider, and it brightens the center of the vignette, which is really powerful because every time I turn on a vignette, I realize that the picture is not quite bright enough to handle that vignette. So we'll turn that up a ways. And then I think I'm going to edit the mask again. And using the eraser, I'm going to remove the vignette from the corners up here so that it's not so bright up there again. So that I get that brighter glow down here on my subject where it belongs. There we go. And maybe a little more. Let's pull it back off there a touch. And then as I adjust the inner light, I can see more effect on the center of the photo than on the edges out there. Yeah, that kind of contrast is very nice with a before and after. Now, here's a fun thing too. We can use the glow settings in the creative palette to give us just a touch of glow. You know, we don't want to go crazy with it. You could go crazy with it, but that's not the look I'm after. I just want a little bit of atmosphere between me and my subject here. So I'm going to turn on the glow just about like that, and then I'm going to pull the brightness back down quite a ways so that I don't lose that mood of the darkness in there. Oh, I like that. There's with and without. Yeah, that's looking good. Now let's add one more layer for my finishing touch. And I'm doing it on a separate layer because I'm using a look that I've already created and saved. And I've got, you can see my looks pop up here, and I've got a whole set of tones that I like to work with. And I can click on these and they apply a split toning to the photo to give me various color tones in the shadows and highlights. I like my copper settings quite a lot, but I think maybe in this one, instead of just warm, I think let's do my grape dreamsicle, which I like a lot. It gives cool tones in the shadow areas and warm tones in the highlights, and then maybe back it off just a touch here, just about like that. Now I've gone from this photo, which was kind of dark but with an interesting mood to it, to the picture that I had in my mind's eye when I actually made that photograph. And that's what I love about Luminar, is that I know what the tool can do for me on the computer, so that the tool I'm using while making the picture in the field they're working together. It's a cohesive process, and it allows my mind to create the photo with the camera that I know I'm going to finish with the computer. And I love that. I think you're going to love Luminar 4 too. So thanks for joining me, and go out there and don't just make pictures, but make stories while you're at it.
I work for families and I work for businesses. And so, I showed you a couple of family pictures in there. Here's another that we shot that day. And man, those portrait retouching tools are just so powerful. Look at this before and after on here.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't remove wrinkles, but it certainly mitigates their impact. And when I showed this to my client, she said, "Man, you said you'd take care of those wrinkles, and you sure did." So I'm really pleased. She's really pleased. And but she still looks, her age. She still looks like the grandmother to the other gal.
Yeah, she's recognizable.
And she's totally recognizable. Yeah. And then occasionally I get to have some more fun portraits, things like senior pictures. And then working with models at workshops and things is a lot of fun. So things like that. And then I get hired to do pictures for businesses. This was for a university, and we're showing off some of the things that the students are doing. And so, there'll be a lot of text over here on the right side, or in this one, I'm leaving text on the left side, but I'm using Luminar to just finish the picture and give it the polish that it needs before it gets published. And here's me on assignment on the edge of the San Rafael Swell in Utah. And that's I guess that tripod's about 2 inches from 2,000 feet.
Oh man,
it'd be, you'd love it, V.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I would. And what was this one for?
This is for a team picture. This company makes robots, like industrial robots, and they made this tractor into a robot. And so here's the executive team, and I've got light coming from the left, blending with the lights, the sunlight. And I haven't actually adjusted this one yet in Luminar, but this is the kind of work I do. And you saw that one already. And here's another one. My nephew hunting. I love to photograph everybody. And like here was another backpacking trip, and my buddy Randy backlit by his dad's headlamp, and used Luminar to accentuate that look a little bit. I like that quite a lot. You can,
hey, Levi, if you get a chance, we have a couple of people who want to know how your preference for sliders. Could you pick one of the more standard portraits and just walk us through some of your recommended settings?
Oh, you bet. Let's look at the portrait settings specifically.
Yes, just the new portrait tools, the skin and portrait tools. Your creative use of the other tools, people are loving it and they're really enjoying the different ways that you're using that.
Okay.
But you've been using these tools for a while because you got access since you had to be ready to show it at Photo Plus Expo. But just show people some of your favorite settings and what you like to use. And if you've got a RAW file, it'd be great if you could show it on a RAW file. If you don't, no problem.
I'm gonna reset this whole photo, and this is a RAW file from my Lumix camera. So this is how it came out of the box, right out of the camera. And I mean, Megan's got pretty good skin, but with the AI skin enhancer, it gives the skin that kind of published looking polish without any significant effort from me. So this is only the skin enhancer. As I drag across, look at her cheek right there. It kind of reduces the depth and contrast of the pores. Look across her forehead here. She's got a couple of...
Can you zoom in a little more, Levi, too? Punch in all the way to 100% because it's harder on the webinar to see sometimes. Awesome.
You bet. Here we are at 200 even. So look at her forehead as I drag across here. On the right is the after, and on the left is before. And it's just reducing the impact of the skin pores and things on there. So I like that. And I'm not super high on the skin enhancer. We could go all the way up to the top, and let me pull back a little bit on that, and it looks a little too much to me, but even so, it's not like way too much.
Like a porcelain doll.
It's like a really good makeup job is what it looks like to me. And so, but I'll pull it back to around 50 or 60 typically on most people. And then the defects removal, I don't see anything on Megan's face that really needs that. It might touch up, yeah, there it goes. It touched up this mole on the side of her head, and then it touched up her nostril as well. So sometimes I use that, but like if I liked what it did elsewhere, but it was hitting her nostril a little too much, I can use the eraser and just erase it from that spot, and I'm still getting all the effects without having to do any significant local touch-ups, having to brush and select anything. And then in the portrait enhancer, this is so cool. The face light slider is changing my life. It is giving me just a lot more of the emphasis on people's faces that I need, because they should be probably the brightest thing in the picture when we view them.
But that also made me realize that maybe I'm not lighting the face enough or bouncing a reflector like we're supposed to.
Well,
it's self-learning.
In this case, it was like 55 degrees at the beach and the sun is going down. And yeah, like 55 degrees is an actual number for temperatures outside of Florida, Vanelli. And so I'm working quickly. And like, if I'd done more, it would just be more, using the face light though, gives me that separation from the tone of her hands without having to get in and brush on her hands. Also, if you'll notice, the skin enhancer, the AI skin enhancer wasn't only affecting her face, it's also affecting her hands and touching up the pores on her hands a lot. So I like that.
And I like that it knows about the eyelashes, the eyebrows. Yeah. It doesn't affect that.
Right. It leaves them sharp. In fact, we can use the eyebrow improve to get a little more contrast in her eyebrows. We can turn on that eye enhancer. She doesn't have any dark circles under her eyes, so I don't need to use that. If we needed to, we could slim her face a little bit, but we don't need to, so I'm not going to. And we could enlarge her eyes. Again, not needed in this picture. So sometime I might use that is if maybe she has one eye that squints a little bit, I would add a second layer and then enlarge the eyes and then only brush in the one eye that needed a little bit of enlarging. That's typically how I use that tool. But it's just so simple to use. And I don't have any standard settings because I move the slider, and if it looks good, I leave it. And then if it doesn't look good, I put it back. So it's super easy.
Can you punch in a little bit there, Levi, in the face so they could see the before and after? Take it to 100% again?
You bet. Here we are at 200. And here's the before and after. I'll slide across here. This includes the heavier, the defects removal button is turned on, which is touching up that mole next to her eye. I wouldn't do that normally automatically because moles are features of faces. Yeah.
Exactly. That's quality control.
That's quality control. But it's proof ready right now. I can send her this picture and I can take this and copy these settings across multiple photographs. And even though her face moves, and even though she's in a different place, even though it's full body or closer up, or maybe there's two people in the picture, because it's using the artificial intelligence, it applies the right settings to all the other photos and does it intelligently. So it finds her face and applies the skin smoothing and the eye enhancements without my personal touch at all. And so now all 40 pictures that I shot of her are ready for proofing. And I didn't have to touch any except the first one.
Exactly. Now, you know what, Rich, this may be a great question for you. So a lot of people will say to me, if you're using the artificial intelligence at, let's say, 25%, it's up at 25. Well, when you're applying it to other images, isn't that just like a preset? My answer is no, because it's analyzing that image. But am I correct in saying that it takes it only to 25% for all those other images?
It's not 25%. It's 25% of the maximum recommended value. So that number is going to change. And so it's not 25 pixels or 25 amount. It's 25 of what the AI thinks you should not go beyond. So that one's a little tricky for folks to wrap their head around because why? Oh, I want the filter to go further. And this one's tricky, right? So people are wondering, oh, well, it's not far enough. I wish I could go further. Just add an adjustment layer and keep cranking. So when you hit 100, that's the filter saying, we think that's the maximum recommended value based on AI, but you can add another instance of the filter and stack the filter so it doubles up the effect. Yeah. But that's why, it's going to vary. So if you get a shot that's too dark and a shot that's too light and you applied 50, it's going to move it towards, closer to the recommended exposure value, even though one shot may be dark and one shot may be light.
Exactly. Yeah, and because if you did it with the exposure, what ends up happening is whether the image needs exposure increased or not, it doesn't matter. It automatically does it. That's where AI is intelligent enough to say, nope, that image doesn't need any more exposure. It puts it right where it's supposed to be.
Goal. That's the goal. So Levi, we got time for one more image if you want to show us just something super fast. I saw you playing there. You got about 60 seconds if you want to show a lighting trick that you were showing.
Okay, let's do this one. I haven't touched this one up at all in Luminar yet, and so let's do 60 seconds. I'll go in here, and the first thing I would do is AI enhance.
But Levi, there's a sun flare in there.
I know, this is a real sun flare. This is a real one, even though I would still come in and use the sun rays filter to enhance that sun. Because one of the things I don't like about this sun ray is that it's just a little too spiky. And so I'm going to use the sun rays here to just make it a little more cinematic and a little less.
I was half teasing, but digital. Sun rays do happen in real life, folks. They do show up in photographs, sometimes by design.
They do, absolutely. Look at that. I like that. Let's be done with that. We'll give it a little warmth right there. Little tiny warmth in the sun. That's good. And let's turn on the portrait tool. Maybe give her a little face light, see if it finds her. I've found that often on full length shots, it may not do face light, which is okay. But I'll turn up a little skin enhancer, and that's fine. And then let's try the advanced contrast tool in here too. I'll turn that up a bit. I kind of like that. There we are. Was that less than 60 seconds?
Yeah, I think you qualified. You proved the point that you don't have to overthink to get great results.
Right. And of course, you know, it's a picture, and I love vignettes, so let's throw some vignette on there. Pull that in there, crank up that, and then we'll choose our subject a little more, and then we'll turn it down, and then always turn up the inner light. Love that. There we go. Before and after. Bam.
Good job, Levi.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Very nice. Good. Well, Levi, we'll hear more from you guys a little bit later. Vanelli and Levi, where can folks go to check out some of your tutorials? I know you're a pretty active blogger, and you also produce webinars and other cool things.
I do. I'm post weekly, a couple of times at least, on photofocus.com, which has daily articles for articles published multiple times each day to teach you how to be a better photographer in all aspects: landscape, portrait, even some video stuff in there. And so check us out at photofocus.com. And then on Instagram, I'm Outdoors Levi and Photo Levi.